Do you think Zach LaVine stays with the Bulls because he's a free agent? And there's rumor he might be going to the Lakers.
If he got a chance to go there, I guarantee you he ain't no fool.
For lack of a better way of saying it, the Los Angeles Lakers have been acting a little bit sketchy this offseason because there's multiple reports from multiple parties that suggest that the Lakers are going to go in a particular direction. Some of these individuals were actually part of the front office for the Los Angeles Lakers just a few years ago and isn't necessarily known for keeping his cards close to his chest. As a matter of fact, Magic Johnson is actually memed for how open he is with the media and honestly being Captain Obvious with some of his tweets. So there's a lot that I want to break down in this video, man, from where the Lakers are with their head coaching search, with one of LeBron's top head coaching candidates turning down the job, to who the Lakers are pursuing in free agency and whether or not you can believe it or not, all the way down to what the Lakers' intentions are with Russell Westbrook. Before we get to the content, we're making a huge push on TikTok. So if you guys think my videos are very long and you just want to get like 1-minute clips of what I talk about, you go check me out on TikTok at TheFlightMike. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? My Los Angeles Lakers, my absolute favorite team, are going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch this offseason, because if you watch this team during the regular season, the issue was very clear. Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James, when healthy, weren't necessarily the greatest fit with one another. And to be honest, throughout the entirety of the season, one thing that irked me in particular as a guy that just generally roots for Russell Westbrook because he went to UCLA, which was my alma mater, which is based in Los Angeles, so I honestly just wanted to see Russell Westbrook as a Laker at some point, but I really didn't like his demeanor in a lot of these post-game press conferences that he had as a Los Angeles Laker. Now, in Russell Westbrook's defense, the man had a really tough season in regards to the way Laker fans treated him, and when you look at his statistics, considering how this is a down season for him, his drop-off wasn't so bad to the point where I felt like it was warranted. He was just a player that did his best to play his game with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and ultimately, whether it was due to scheme or the fact that he just doesn't fit with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, it didn't work out. I mean, personally, in the modern NBA, if you're a guard that struggles to shoot a three, hell, if you're a big man that struggles to shoot a three, you put your team at a disadvantage. And that's the biggest issue that, in my opinion, just being very basic with what the Lakers were going through this past season, in my opinion, that was the Lakers' biggest issue. When you combine that with the fact that they allocated 70% of their cap space to 3 stars, and those 3 stars didn't play well together, so they couldn't invest heavily in their bench, I feel like that was the perfect storm to create a team that wouldn't even make it to the play-in. And ultimately, I understand things like this tend to happen. There are instances where you could trade for a player like Pau Gasol in the middle of the season and then go from a team that is a potential 8th seed all the way to the team that makes it to the NBA Finals and loses to the Boston Celtics, which is even more admirable because Pau Gasol had to learn the triangle offense and whatnot. And there are instances where you go out and trade for a player like Russell Westbrook. It sounds like an adorable combination with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and it just doesn't work out. Which brings us to where we are today. Where are the Los Angeles Lakers now? What are they doing to fix this situation? And are they being truthful with how they're approaching the scenario that they're currently in? In our last video on this topic, there was a report that the Lakers are trying to keep Russell Westbrook. The reason why there was evidence to this was the fact that the head coaches that were being interviewed for the Los Angeles Lakers coaching position were primarily being asked how they were going to use Russell Westbrook alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And we got additional information in regards to that from none other than Magic Johnson, who said in a Q&A with The Athletic that the Lakers' plans with Russell Westbrook aren't what we expected. Magic Johnson said, well, it only can work if you got the coach, the right coach. To me, it still comes down to who's the coach. And then also, he's on a 1-year, $47 million contract. Even if you offer him in a trade, what are you realistically going to get back? I told him this too. You're going to get some contracts you probably don't want, and then they're going to go chronologically past his contract. You've really got to think about that. Are those players you're going to get back, are they really going to help you? I said, talk to him. Whatever happened this season, how can you make it better with Russell Westbrook? How can you make it more comfortable? So they've got to figure all these things out. Take him out, take him to dinner, or sit him down. How can this thing be better? Because if he's going to be there, it's got to be better. I guess guess whoever they name, that's the first thing they're going to have to do. And you can't sit down once, you're going to have to sit down for a week or two to try to figure that thing out. So it seems like, according to Magic Johnson, the Lakers are doing their best to retain Russell Westbrook. Now, there are two things that could be happening here. Either the Lakers are 100% being honest and they are actually trying to keep Russell Westbrook, or this is just all smoke because they know that Russell Westbrook's value is at an all-time low, and as a result of that, they want to do whatever it takes to at least try to boost his value. Currently, teams are asking for a first-round pick to facilitate a Russell Westbrook trade. The Lakers aren't interested in giving up Russell Westbrook in a first-round pick. Obviously, the ideal situation is trading Westbrook for Buddy Hield and Malcolm Brogdon. I don't know what are the odds of that actually happening. Now, in addition to this, it's very interesting to know one of the top Lakers head coaching candidates was Juwan Howard. Now, Juwan Howard has history with LeBron James. He was LeBron James's teammate towards the tail end of Juwan Howard's career while LeBron James was on the Miami Heat, and currently he coaches for his alma mater, Michigan. Now, he's also most famous for getting into a brawl recently following a game, which demonstrates either his passion or lack of maturity. However you want to analyze it, I'll leave it up to you. But obviously, he is a huge front runner for the Los Angeles Lakers position. But according to Adrian Wojnarowski, Juwan Howard isn't interested. According to ESPN sources, Michigan coach Juwan Howard recently declined a Los Angeles Lakers overture on the franchise's head coaching job. Howard is coaching his two sons, Jason Jett, in Ann Arbor. So there are multiple things that are happening here. One, Juwan Howard is relatively a young coach so far. His coaching career just got started. He finally got stability by being able to coach for the Michigan Wolverines. So why on earth would you leave your alma mater where you're currently coaching your two sons, which honestly sounds awesome, unless if you're Doc Rivers and you happen to be a little weird about it. Why would you leave that position and take by far the most stressful head coaching job in the entire NBA? I mean, I am not kidding. The Los Angeles Lakers are consistently under a microscope. You saw what happened to Russell Westbrook as a result of him not being able to contribute to winning this past year, or him not being able to make it work with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, or just the team being poorly constructed. You saw what happened to Frank Vogel. He was fired just 2 seasons after winning a championship for the Los Angeles Lakers. So you have to imagine that Juwan Howard is looking at that situation and thinking this is not a risk that is honestly worth taking at this point. It just sucks because the head coaches that have turned down the Los Angeles Lakers coaching gig so far turned out to be absolute studs in the head coaching carousel. I mean, before Frank Vogel was hired, the Los Angeles Lakers were really close to hiring Tyronn Lue. As a matter of fact, Tyronn Lue even had this birthday cake for his 42nd birthday with the Los Angeles Lakers logo on it. But ultimately, he was so offended by the Los Angeles Lakers offer originally that he ended up backing out. And then you have Monty Williams, who opted for the Phoenix Suns gig over the Los Angeles Lakers gig, which gives you an idea of how bad things are going in the front office for the Los Angeles Lakers. With respect to the Phoenix Suns are known for having an absolutely toxic workplace environment, especially underneath their ownership, Robert Sarver. Credit to James Jones because I think he's done a fantastic job as the general manager of that team, but I digress. This brings us to where the Lakers are currently. They're hoping that Doc Rivers will become available on the coaching market, which I'm not the biggest fan of Doc Rivers. I don't understand how we got here. I don't know why he would leave his current situation. I think a more realistic situation is either Darvin Ham, Terry Stotts, or Kenny Atkinson. And that's apparently who the 3 finalists are. To be honest, I quote JJ Redick when I say this, and I agree with him. Los Angeles Lakers coaching job is not a good situation. You're not going to have a deep bench at all whatsoever. You're going to be expected to work with Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And with all due respect, Russell Westbrook and LeBron James definitely have huge egos. So good luck being able to make it work with those 3 after Frank Vogel wasn't able to make it work out. This brings us to, by far, in my opinion, the biggest BS report in the entire NBA, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers' pursuit of Zach LaVine. Now, I said this previously, the Lakers cannot pursue a sign and trade for Zach LaVine because it will put them in the hard cap. Despite this, you have LeVar Ball really hyping up this situation.
Do you think Zach LaVine stays with the Bulls because he's a free agent and there's rumor he might be going to the Lakers?
You are very, very smart. And I'm going to tell you like I told him, he's gone. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, it started off Zach LaVine. Okay, now you get hurt, a few things happen, and guess who's doing all the big plays? All I hear is DeMar DeMar. He don't want to play second fiddle. And who don't want to go to LA? He want to go back to the West Coast. He'd be like, yeah, I think he's from the West Coast. Seattle? Washington?
Seattle.
He'd rather, if he got a chance to go there, I guarantee you he ain't no fool.
Now, again, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Even if the Los Angeles Lakers offload every single player outside of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the cap space would max out at about $29.5 million. The Lakers would need to trade Talon Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, and Russell Westbrook without bringing back any salary. But despite this, you had Zach LaVine saying this on the situation.
Our ball says he might be coming to the Lakers, so.
Blue Mustang is actually just right here. Pictures, Zach?
Me and Alonzo, boys. I'm all good, man. Thank you.
Picture, okay?
All good, man. I got you.
Okay.
Anything you want to say to Lakers fans?
I've always been a good fan.
So let me know what you guys think about this entire situation, man. I honestly don't think it's going to happen. I think Zach LaVine is just generating hype for his free agency. I don't know what the Lakers are going to do with Russell Westbrook. That is up in the air as well, but I figured I'd bring this to your attention because it was worth bringing up. Let me know in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.